All right, we're back, and some news of the day and a trade to report on here as the trades are going to get started. We are currently, as I'm recording this, 2.5 hours before trade deadline, and so we're going to start seeing them. And again, don't overreact. Of course they're going to. So, waiver claims this morning. Ottawa picks up Victor Mete for free. Mete, it hasn't worked out for him in Montreal. I think that's a good pickup for Ottawa. I think that's some good defensive depth. And if it doesn't work out, it's a free asset. I find it weird that I see people complaining about picking up a free asset on the waiver wire for a team that's not making the playoffs. They're giving him a shot. Why not? And Dallas claims Vatanen, which is why I'm wearing a Dallas jersey. Sekera gets hurt last night. Vatanen, veteran player, can fill in. Again, I'm not expecting a lot from Vatanen, but it's a good pickup for Dallas, and we'll see how it goes. I don't see Dallas making the playoffs, no, but at the very least, they picked up a solid depth defenseman, and we'll see how it goes for Vatanen and Dallas. Marcus Foligno makes his return tonight. So there's stuff happening that's not trade related or waiver wire related. I'm trying to get that into this news video as well. Marcus Foligno being out of the lineup has had an effect on the Minnesota Wild. He really was having possibly the best season he's ever had in Minnesota at the time of the injury. So Minnesota fans are going to hope he can jump right back in and start playing the way that he was, myself included, because honestly, Marcus Foligno, I remember that run he went on as a rookie in Buffalo that first year, and that it did raise the bar a little bit too much, but he does have some offensive skill there, and so it'll be nice to see him back in the Minnesota lineup tonight. They need him against St. Louis. And also, I've seen people asking, what about Tony DeAngelo? Is he going to get traded? No. His rights will stay with the Rangers through the deadline, is what's being reported. There just isn't any interest in DeAngelo at this stage. And I would think the longer that he's off the ice, the more that's going to be the case. He's probably going to be in a situation where during the summer, maybe he gets signed by somebody. Like, you've got to think the Rangers get out of that contract this summer, and then he probably ends up somewhere else. Maybe even on a tryout. So we'll see what happens with DeAngelo probably this summer. Maybe even later on in the summer. Like I said, it may be a tryout, professional tryout contract. Interesting news out of Buffalo. So they're, obviously sellers. Linus Ullmark's contract's up at the end of this year. Now they're saying they're not trading Ullmark, right? He's 27 years of age. He makes $2.6 million. And I have to say that there is a noticeable difference when he's in net compared to when he's not. Now, the question then becomes, is he that good, or are the other goaltenders they've used this year that bad? I would say it's probably a mix of both. He's expected to test free agency. He's not expected to re-sign in Buffalo, which I'm sure a lot of people watching would say, well, if you have a chance at unrestricted free agency and you're in Buffalo, you're probably going to take it. And that's probably the case. But if they hold him through the deadline, that leaves them the opportunity to maybe talk him through and maybe talk him out of free agency. It's going to cost money to talk him out of it. But for Buffalo, they're not really in a position where they could just trade out Ullmark because, there's Luukkonen coming up, sure. But until he's actually playing, you want to have a goaltender in net, especially in Buffalo's case. They want to make that improvement next year. Ullmark staying and having a decent second goaltender as well will go a long way towards that. Like, for instance, I don't know, like Korpisalo in the summer, if that were available, or Merzlikins if Columbus decides to part with one of its goaltenders. But we'll see what happens. I know Buffalo fans are still kind of about the Taylor Hall trade, which is interesting. And Hall's on the board too, because it's already being reported that he's expected to debut tomorrow night against Buffalo on a line with Krejci and Smith. Now, the interesting thing to me with that is Craig Smith, 20 goal scorer in an 82 game season, usually. Krejci is a pass first guy, and so's Taylor Hall. The one interesting thing to me with Taylor Hall is that, and this was 4 or 5 years ago when the channel's getting started, and I was always surprised and let down by goal totals from Hall. I always expected more from Hall, but it became clear to me that he's a guy who'd prefer to pass the puck. Hall with Krejci, those are two guys who would prefer to pass the puck. So Smith may very well get set up for a lot of goals, Or it may be interesting to see if Hall can transition and start trying to score goals again. Because we look at the 2 goals, he had 17 assists. He's a pass-first guy. And he showed that in Arizona, he showed that in New Jersey, and he showed that in Edmonton as well before he went to New Jersey. So unless that's going to change, he does have a good shot. Unless that's going to change, it'll be interesting to see where he actually ends up fitting in. That's where he starts. I don't necessarily think that's where he finishes. I think for Hall, I think he needs to be with a sniper, with somebody who's a really good scorer that he can set up. I think he's more of the Adam Oates than the Brett Hull. That's the way I see it. But again, we'll see what happens in Boston if that changes. A trade has taken place, which I'm sure Canuck fans will be completely rational about. I've already seen on Twitter that they're not. There's an overinflated value placed on players. Thomas Drance had an article today in The Athletic. Good article. I recommend it for people who have an Athletic subscription, where it was basically trade proposals by fans that he went to NHL executives and said, what do you think of this? And in many cases it was no. Team, no. There was one for Vegas where they said Vegas would hang up. And not only that, but they would make sure that Benning can't call them again for 365 days. They would block his number for a full year after that offer. Adam Gaudette has not developed this year. And he's really at a point in his career where I don't think it would happen in Vancouver anyways. I wish Gaudette the best. I like Adam Gaudette. He has been traded to the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for Matthew Highmore. Now, is Matthew Highmore a really great return? No. But was Gaudette having a great season? Also no. Gaudette, 33 games so far this year, 4 goals, 3 assists for him. And I've been very sold on Gaudette. I believe that last summer I was protecting him in the expansion draft, which may be part of the reason why he ends up in Chicago, right? They're just like, well, we're going to lose him to Seattle anyways. Matthew Highmore, 24 games, 2 assists for him. You're not going to really worry about Seattle grabbing him in the expansion draft. That may be part of what's at play here. Again, Gaudette, I hope he excels in Chicago. I really do. I hope that he's able to make it work in Chicago. I like the player a lot, but it was not happening in Vancouver. And it may be a sign. This may be the first sign that things are going to change in Vancouver. Because people have looked at the Pearson signing and they viewed it from a perspective of, well, the Canucks are screwed now. Look at all these contracts and all these young players and all this. Benning may have other ideas in mind, so maybe I'm bringing back Pearson and some of these other guys are going to end up going. So we'll see what happens. But again, I am well aware that fans of the Canucks not happy with this trade at all because they felt Vatanen was probably going. I don't know that Vatanen has value right now. That was one of the ones that in the Drance article they talked about, Vatanen trade options. And yeah, he doesn't seem to have a lot of value to other executives right now around the league. Gaudette does, at least somewhat. And again, when your team underperforms and you've got a player who's underperforming on a team that's underperforming, it's going to negatively impact their value, which is why Hall only brings you a second-round pick instead of a first. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.